Hey friend, welcome. If we haven't met yet, I'm Jen. I'm a part-time online clothing reseller, which means I go to thrift stores, I buy used clothes, I list them on eBay and Poshmark, and hopefully sell them for a profit. Today, I am sharing all of my October numbers with you. My profit, I share a ton of numbers down to what I made per hour. October was kind of a low month for me, but it was better than September, so I'm counting that as good. You might notice I have a cat. We now have a cat. This is Shadow. She has been rescued from the abandoned house in our neighborhood. There's a litter of them. We have a lot of feral cats in our yard, so she is going to the vet this week, and hopefully we can give her a nice new home here instead of out on the streets. All right, so in October, well, first of all, let me give you just a little bit of a background on where I'm coming from. I do this part-time. This is extra money for my family. My husband works full-time. I'm not paying our mortgage. I'm not feeding our children. This is extra money. It's important money. I say that a lot. This is how we do the extra things. Volleyball. We did do volleyball one year. Soccer, violin, dance, just the extra things that come with having a family. I have 4 kids. I homeschool them. I stay at home. And so I fit this into my life. I know that everyone's circumstances are different, and so I just want to share that with you so that you know where I'm coming from when I share these numbers. Okay. So, I usually sell clothing. That is my top seller. In fact, I only sold one item that wasn't clothing or accessories or shoes, and that was a book. It was a homeschool book that I sold. Most of my items are women's tops. My top 5 categories are women's tops, women's sweaters, women's coats, men's sweaters, and women's dresses. So mostly women's clothing, obviously. My top 5 brands in October were Torrid, Eddie Bauer, and that was because I sold a couple Eddie Bauer coats, Anthropologie, Athleta, and J. Crew. Torrid is one of my favorite brands, but everything else on the list, I mean, I like finding those, but I feel like those are unusual brands to be in my top 5. All right, so in October, I sold 92 items. That's up from in September, I only sold 83. Now, I did list 56 items, which is not good. I have been reselling for about 4 years, and over those 4 years, I kind of rotate between about 5 and 10 items per day. So you can tell in September and October, I did not get nearly that. 56 items is less than 2 items per day. So I honestly thought I was doing better at listing this month. So I'm not quite sure what happened. I was actually shocked when I saw that number. I'm trying to think back on my month, and I'm just not sure what happened. I know I was a little more inconsistent with my listings, but I didn't think it was that bad. This is why it's really important, at least for me, to keep an actual eye on the actual numbers and what is actually happening. Because you might feel like you're making more money or you're doing better than you're actually doing. And actually about 10 days ago, I thought I was doing worse in October than I actually was. And I took a look at my numbers and realized that I was actually doing better than I thought I was. So it can work in reverse as well. But I think it's important, and I'm talking to myself here, I think it's important that, we look at our numbers and not just go based on like, oh, I feel like it's been pretty good, or I feel like I've been listing pretty consistently. I have determined I'm going to do better in November. I saw somebody made a chart, and I didn't know who it was. I don't even know where I saw it, but it was like marking off, like 100 squares or something, and you mark off every, time you list something. And I'm pretty visual like that, so that something similar to that might be very helpful for me. I know, let's see, I did not list. I did list on Saturday. I listed 10 items on Saturday. I don't list on Sunday. That's a choice that I make right now when I'm filming this. It is Monday, November 3rd. So I have not listed yet to date, but I do have a plan to do so. All right, so I listed 56 items. Even the 88 from September, I don't think that I realized I was that low in September as well. So, all right. So all of those items, those 92 items that I sold, it was a gross sales amount of $2,579.79. When I subtract out the fees, the platform fees, the shipping costs, and my cost of goods for those items that sold, my profit is $1,613.11. So that is not my total profit. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But I do want to say that my average sale price for these 92 items that sold is actually up in October. So about $1.50. So for October, my average sale price was $28.04. And in September, it was only $26.64. So what's that? Like $1.40. Primarily, I say this, but I don't know that it's true right now. Primarily, I sell on eBay. And the amount of sales is 49% of the sales that I had on eBay. But my profit is only 41%. My daughter came and took the kitten. All right, so on my profit on Poshmark was 43%, so higher by about 2% than eBay, which I found really interesting. Depop, the profit was 16%, and actually my highest average sale price was on Depop. So let's see. I told you that $1,613 was not my total profit. There are other expenses that come out. The first of those are my subscriptions. So I have things like I have a PO box, I have an eBay store, I have Prime Lister that I use for sharing and then sending offers on Poshmark. And then I have Vendoo, which I use for my inventory management system and for cross-listing. The post office box, I think I took that out of the month that I purchased it, because you like lump sum for however many months or whatever. So I didn't include that, but with the eBay store, Prime Lister, and Vendoo, my cost is $10 per month. For Vendoo, I have 125 items every month that I can put new into Vendoo, and then I also have, I believe it's the delist and relist feature, an add-on for that. Prime Lister is $25 a month, and then my eBay store, I think it's the third paid tier. I think there's a $5 one, a $25 one, and a $60 one. I actually currently have not enough to really warrant the $60 one, but unfortunately when I bumped it up, I kind of locked myself in for a year, so I'm kind of stuck paying that right now, unfortunately. So I do currently have like a 1,080 items in my store as of last night. I think it was maybe like 183, something like that. So I try to keep it around 1,000. I've been up to 1,300, down to about 900, maybe, at the beginning of the year, I had taken a bunch of stuff out of my store and I was down to like maybe 900. 1,000 feels manageable for me. So I have the subscriptions that I take out, and then there are other expenses that I also need to take out. So one of those is, like shipping supplies. I buy tape, I buy envelopes, I buy some boxes, pens sometimes, because there's only certain pens I write on the back of my labels, and there's only certain pens that will do that. And I don't know about you, but pens disappear for me. blame my children and my ADHD. How's that? I'm only allowed to use that once per day, so that's all I'm allowed to use that excuse. Okay. So the only other expense, I didn't have any shipping, supply, office supply type of expenses this month. Sorry, sirens in the neighborhood. There actually was an accident a couple blocks from my house, so I'm assuming it's from that. And now I'm off the rails. Here we go. The other big expense is more inventory. So I do count my cost of goods twice in this video. I don't count it twice when I'm doing my taxes, which is like the legal purposes. But for this purpose, I do count my cost of goods twice. I'm sure that's probably a bit confusing for you, but for me, it's easier than going in, trying to figure out all my cost of goods and adding it back in and then subtracting in. Anyway, it's just easier for me to do it this way. I hope that you can follow along. So I did very little thrifting this month because I didn't really need to. Clearly, I only listed 56 items. Ugh. I had a big haul from the Salvation Army rummage sale. I went to the bins once or twice, I think. And then I bought a bunch of coats that cost me like $58. So my total for my inventory, incoming inventory, is $286.04. When I subtract my my subscriptions and my inventory cost, my cost of goods, that takes my profit down to $1,217.07. Now, I like to figure out my cost per hour. Sometimes it makes me feel better about things. This time it did not, I'll be honest. Although I will tell you my average, and really my average is more like my max. And I know that I did not put as much time and effort into my business in October as I usually do. So while my number might seem small as far as like per hour, I don't think it's actually accurate. I don't keep like a detailed track of how many hours I actually work. I just work off of this average. The max that I work is 24 hours, and that accounts for an hour a day in shipping. That's prepping all my labels, including doing my video and getting those ready to be shipped out. That's 6 hours a week because I do not do any work on Sunday, no matter what. An hour a day to list. Obviously, I did not take an hour a day to list in October, sadly. But max is an hour, and that would be 6 hours a week. I usually source 1 day a week, and I spend a big chunk of the day doing that. I would say based on this, that was like 2 hours. That was 1 hour, 3. That was 6 hours. So 2, 3, 6, 9. I'm probably at 10 to 12 hours total for the month, whereas I usually say I am at 6 hours per week in sourcing. And then generally I take 2 afternoons a week where I take photographs in chunks. So I will do all my pants and skirts and shorts, although sometimes my daughter does those for me. Or I'll do all my things that I can hang on a hanger, or I'll do all my flat lay items, but I do those kind of batch photography 2 days a week, and I usually spend about 3 hours per day working on that. So again, 6 hours per week. So with 6 hours sourcing, 6 hours doing photos, 6 hours shipping, 6 hours listing, that's 24 hours. I round up to 25 just to account for any extra little things. But again, I know it has been less than that. These are max numbers for me. So when I take my profit of $1,217.07 and divide it by 4.3, because that is how many weeks are in a month, right, Mom? Whenever I say 4, she corrects me. So I love you. I'm glad you do that for me. that comes out to $283.04 per week. And when I divide that by 25 hours, sorry, that is $11.32 per hour. Around here, daycares pay about $12 an hour. That's actually pretty high. That is on average though, and in my area, and that is about what I would be able to do as far as like if my kids were in school. So I just kind of think about it like that. Here I have a lot more flexibility, and I'm still getting paid. Even on a really low month, I'm still getting paid decently per hour. And like I said, in reality, it's a lot higher than that because I did not work 25 hours all of October. So the other thing I want to mention, and I think is really important, is this is still taxable income. So while I can say, oh yeah, I'm taking home $1,200 this month, some of it I do have to set aside for taxes because, you know, income is income and the government needs its share. That feels like a really tricky subject right now, so I'm just going to leave it at that. I will say, make sure I'm not a tax professional. I have one, and I ask her questions all the time. I would suggest if you are investing money and time and effort into reselling that you do the same, unless you're a tax professional yourself. And if that's cool, if you are. So, all right, I think I have told you all the information that I can possibly think of. If I have missed something, which possibly I have, please ask in the comments. I do my best. I'm a little behind in answering comments, but I really do try to get to as many comments as I can. So, it is November, and for me, November is all about Thanksgiving and giving thanks, and so I just want to invite you to leave a comment for something that you're grateful for. It can be reselling related or not, and the challenge is to, especially if you comment or watch regularly, to pick something different every day. And that's my goal too. Last night we had some neighbor friends come over, some little boys, and they and my son built this rocket in our backyard, and they were just having so much fun together all afternoon. And that is something that I really just dreamed about for my kids, being able to have friends in the neighborhood where they could just kind of go back and forth between houses and play and enjoy together. And so I'm really, really grateful. We just have a really wonderful neighborhood. And, you know, this particular family, and, you know, if you watch regularly, you see me talk about my neighbor who brings me clothes a lot to resell. She is wonderful. And there is, you know, 3 or 4 families in our neighborhood that we just really enjoy and are glad to be a part of our neighborhood. There's a lot of people that we don't know, and I wish I was better at that. So if you have any hints, hold on, give me just a second. If you have any hints on how to be a better neighbor, and like, I don't know, I'm just not like a go up to someone's house and introduce myself kind of person. Maybe I should do that. But yeah, so anyway, the whole point of that is I'm really thankful for our neighbor friends today. All right, so make sure you tell me what you're grateful for in the comments. Make sure you like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you soon.